Welcome to Fight Week, UFC 263. John Morgan, Oscar Willis from the Mac Life, always around. Happy to have you, sir.
Thank you very much.
We're inside the host hotel, sitting right in the lobby. We actually just had the Nate Diaz crew. He's rolling pretty deep this week. Just kind of walked by over there.
15 of them or so, yeah.
Yeah, not bad. He's stopping by. I don't think he's actually staying here, but he's stopping by to get all of his pre-fight stuff done, and then we'll get to see him at the press conference tomorrow afternoon.
Indeed, we will. I'm looking forward to it.
He is. Look, obviously he's a big star in this card, but we got 2 title fights as well. Blockbuster lineup, man. I mean, we're looking at this card top to bottom, thinking about things to talk about, and man, this is a pretty good card.
Yeah, this is one of those things where, we're saying we're doing a preview show, and sometimes you think, okay, well, what do I say at this section? But then I looked at the card, I went, I could say a number of things, and that usually indicates we've got a good Saturday night ahead of us.
Yeah, no question about it. I'm excited for it. Let's start right at the top. The middleweight title is on the line. Israel Adesanya facing Marvin Vettori. It's a rematch, of course. They actually fought at the exact same arena, which is kind of a funny little quirky thing. But listen, Israel, going back down to middleweight, putting his belt back up on the line. Those days of hopefully being a 2-division champion are gone. Now he's trying to just make sure he keeps the one he has. Marvin Vettori, who we beat before, but split decision, right? Close fight the first time around. And Marvin has really earned his way back here, 5 fights in a row. So I just want to kind of get your take on what's most intriguing about this matchup to you. And is it maybe a bigger fight for Israel Adesanya than people realize? Because you go from being I'm going to be a champ to I have nothing. That's a huge change.
I think for me the interesting question around this fight was always how motivated can Adesanya be, right? Because he might have shown a passing interest in the Whittaker rematch. Vettori, first of all, he never used to say his name. He's just like the Italian. But I've never felt that he really cared that much about the rematch. I think he actually thought it would be funnier to never rematch Marvin, to piss Marvin off. But then I heard him do an interview, and he said that he watched Usman start lapping the competition, beating the contenders multiple times, and he thought that motivates me. And I think once he decided to rematch Marvin, he's now finding motivation in the fact that Marvin has complained so much about feeling he won the first fight. So I was kind of curious about Adesanya's motivation coming into this. I do think he's suffering from the you're only as good as your last fight. I think people are maybe saying, like, well, Marvin can take him down and hold him down there. I don't know if that's the case, but I actually think it's more an intriguing rematch than it would have been maybe 6 months ago for me.
Yeah, they had that kind of intense face-off that the embedded cameras caught. I mean, it looks like you said, like, Adesanya is serious about this. He's not ready to joke around. What do you think about Vettori? I mean, does he have an advantage here? I just wonder if, like, fighting Adesanya a second time around, if it's better. It's kind of one of those guys that you don't really know exactly how he moves because it's unique. His size, his spacing, everything he does is so unique that when you go a second time around, now there's not the air of mystery around him. I wonder if that could be an advantage for Marvin Vettori.
Not just that, but also there's a lot more tape on Izzy now, because they fought early on in the UFC career. So his style was particularly new at that time, his jerky feints and stuff like that. And I think Marvin will probably look at that Yan fight and really take a lot of inspiration from that. I'm sure he looks at that and thinks, oh my God, I got Izzy down in the third round of their first fight. Yan can do it. Maybe he can get me for the first 2 rounds, but if Vettori turns it on late, I'm sure he feels that's where he has a path to success. So for Marvin, I think he should be feeling confident for this one. I think he should be feeling as confident. I mean, not that Vettori lacks any confidence or aggression, but I think he should be feeling as confident as one can against someone like Israel.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to fire up Marvin Vettori, does it?
A cold breeze,
I love
dust
that.
of winds.
I love that about him. He's such a high head. All right, so let me ask you one thing, the flip side of it. Is there pressure on Adesanya here, man? I mean, I think about this fast rise he had to the top, and now maybe I'm making more of it than I should be because I know he's a favorite here and he's dominant, but I just feel like, man, you lose this and everything slipped away. All those dreams you had of being the next Conor McGregor or whatever
trilogy,
the case may be.
Triple champion,
Right.
I think a bit behind the curtain here, this fight reminds me very much of the Paulo Costa fight. Clear rivalry, hothead versus Israel's trash talk. There's a little bit of beef going in there. And I can say, off the back of Israel's defeat to Yan, the numbers are not comparable. I feel like this card is it's amazing on paper, but I'm not really feeling that buzz yet. We're in the fighter hotel. Nate Diaz is walking around, and I still think it's yet to arrive, that buzz. So, yeah, I think there is something on Adesanya there. I think he needs to remind people, I was a superstar for a reason, or I'm going to be a superstar for a reason. So I think there is pressure on him. That's
awesome. I'm looking forward to this matchup, I think, more than I thought I would do. By the way, Mark Fellows, good friend of the show, saying what's up. I think it's going to load everybody. Jeremiah K. said Adesanya's motivation is getting back into the win column right now. So I do think that's a big moment right there. Joseph Boza says, I don't think Izzy wanted to fight Marvin. He wanted Whittaker, who would have had to do a quick turnaround, so maybe he doesn't want this matchup. It's a lot of interesting things there. So tell me, can you make a pick? Are you leaning in one direction? As you said, maybe you tipped your hand a little bit. There's a clear favorite. Do you believe in that clear favorite?
Yeah, I do. For a while there, I thought actually maybe Vettori could do it, but I think I went back and rewatched their first fight, and while it was a split decision, it wasn't, to me, like the second round where they stayed on the feet, it wasn't that competitive.
Right.
He couldn't touch Israel, and I think it'll probably look similar to that on Saturday, because Izzy's only gotten better, and I think while Marvin has gotten better, he's still very potatoes, kind of like a just standard MMA fighter, and I think Izzy can sort of pick those guys apart. So I am picking Izzy.
It's interesting, right?
And also Vettori doesn't like me very much. So I'm picking,
that's true. He doesn't like you very much. No, listen, you know what's funny is I do feel like Marvin Vettori is maybe more live of an underdog than people are giving credit for. I mean, it's funny, meat and potatoes. Jan Blachowicz is a little bit meat and potatoes,
sure.
a lot
That's
bigger,
true.
of course. You know, so it makes me wonder, you know, like you said, can he replicate what he just
saw?
But
But Jan has the threat of the big knockout power that keeps Izzy at bay.
Right.
I don't think Marvin has that.
Yeah, I agree. You know, you're thinking about big light heavy. So ultimately, I didn't pull the trigger. I went with Adesanya to retain his title, but I am
now
excited
Vettori
to see
hates
Vettori.
you.
Now Vettori will hate me. I'm sorry, Marvin. He's always been so nice to me as well. I did pick Israel Adesanya, but I do give Vettori, I think, a lot more chance than maybe a lot of people do. And I'm intrigued by this rematch, and I'm intrigued by the face-off. You know, what we're going to see.
The press conference is going to be great.
It's going to be good.
I mean, a lot of people, like, they did that back and forth on ESPN, I think, earlier this week, and some people saying it's cringy. I mean, to be honest with you, we've had like a run of press conferences where everyone's very nice to each other, except for Tony, actually. But like Israel and Jan, they were very nice to each other. I'm looking forward to some childish trash talk.
We'll get it. You can count on that.
100%.
All right, let's talk about the co-main event. Davison Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno, the rematch there as well. Obviously, this one more an instantaneous rematch than somebody having to get back there. Talk to me about your interest level here. What's piquing your interest? Because the draw the first time around is intriguing, but, you know, let's not forget there was a point deduction in there. If the point deduction isn't
soccer
there,
kicked him in the nuts.
Right. He did soccer kick him in the nuts.
Field goal.
So what's intriguing? Because it seems like this one's getting a little more heated, which I guess anytime you fight somebody twice in a row, there's probably going to be a little bit of heat, a little bit of build-up. It feels like this is becoming more of a rivalry. So what's kind of piquing your interest about this fight?
Well, it's funny because Figueiredo's like, I'm going to kill him, and then it cuts to Moreno being like, and these are my collectible toys. It's I don't think you can get Moreno like really angry.
No.
You know? I think you mentioned how if you fight Israel twice, does it help you with the puzzle? I actually think this rematch is going to really help Figueiredo, because I'm sure he went into that fight being like, I'm going to smash this guy in 2 rounds, just knock him out, and then he didn't realize that he was fighting a guy with a massive head.
Right.
So I think he probably will conserve his energy a bit better this time, be able to really push when Moreno starts to fade a bit, and, you know, probably avoid kicking him in the balls. It's a solid tactic.
A good strategy, you know.
Well, I mean, especially as egregiously as he did. But yeah, I'm favouring the champion here. It's going to be an exciting fight, but I, for some reason, I don't see it living up to the first one.
Interesting.
Also, the crowd, though, might make a difference.
Man, if they can you imagine if they can turn in that same kind of fight with a crowd in there? It'll be absolutely unbelievable. You said that the champ said he was ill the first time around, right? We know his weight cuts are difficult. I mean, there are some factors in there, but you said you don't see it kind of living up to the first one. It would be. I mean, listen, that was a hell of a fight. It'd be hard to live up to that again. I just wonder too. Like I said, it was a draw. There was a point deduction in there, and I don't want to take away from Brandon Moreno because I like Brandon Moreno a lot. I mean, how do you not like Brandon Moreno? But I like his fighting style, great personality. But it just almost feels like people are awarding him a victory because he didn't wilt, you know what I mean? Because he was able to stand up to that power. And
essentially because he got hit in the head a lot and didn't fall over.
Right? It's like that old thing, like, oh, man, he's got a great chin. Well, what are you really saying? You're saying I've seen the guy get hit a lot, right? So I don't want to take away from Brandon Moreno because he's definitely dangerous, and he took it to the champ. And I believe Davison Figueiredo is an absolute force in that division. Yeah. And I'm kind of the same way as you. Like, I don't want to take away and say, oh, the challenger has no chance, especially when we just had a draw. But I don't know. I feel like this is maybe another opportunity for Davison to remind people of who he is.
I think he will. I think he kind of had that star power. I mean, it's flyweight, and they need to get that sort of star power. But he had that about him, a bit of intrigue. So I think that's where the rewarding Brandon for his fight comes from, because Davison Figueiredo. So I think, I think Figueiredo will win this one pretty comfortably. Maybe not comfortably, but he'll do a better job.
By the way, shout out to Cold Coffee, Ken Hathaway over there monitoring the chat as well as streaming this. We appreciate it. He's got something from Joseph Boza again. He said, "I like Moreno. Will it make it? Will it make a defense at this time? Will it make a difference?" I think is what he meant to say. That this rematch will be in front of a crowd. You touched on that. He said, "I think the crowd could sway the judges a little bit."
That's true. Moreno would be the hometown favorite, right? Not like hometown, but they'd probably cheer him over.
Crowd favorite.
Yeah, they'd cheer him over the Brazilian, right? Yeah, it could do, man. I think the first fight though was so kind of high paced and so many strikes were thrown that the crowd will just be going nuts, regardless of who's punching. You know, that'd be great. That would be great to see that fight in front of a crowd. Don't know about the judges. I think it'll just be pandemonium, to be honest.
Yeah, by the way, I should say it has been great having crowds back, you know.
Once a month.
Once a month, yeah. We're not going to do it all the time, but once a month. I think Daniel Cormier nailed it at the end of that first pay-per-view where he said, like, you know, hey, we got used to fights without a crowd, and we're like, hey, this isn't that bad. You know, I can hear the coaches. I can hear the punches. And then you get in front of a sold-out arena, you're like, oh, I'm an idiot. You know, like, this is the way the sport's supposed to be.
Yeah, as soon as there's a big fight or a fan favorite in there, like Tony fighting with the crowd, it's just electric, and I really do see a difference in the performances. I think especially for athletes who fought with no crowd, getting in there and fighting in front of a crowd, I think they really kick on and have a better performance.
I mean, it seems like something silly, but yeah, I mean, the 2 fights that we've had, come on, those 2 pay-per-views have been great.
Yeah,
and
it can't be a coincidence. I mean, maybe that'll fade over time, and maybe crowds become standard, and you'll see that in the performances, but. Yeah, the last 2 pay-per-views have been off the charts.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, last thing on this flyweight fight. If Moreno does find a way to win, do you have to do a 3rd one now?
Yeah, because they want Figueiredo to be champion, so yeah, just do it again.
So just do it again. Keep doing it until he wins.
Shit.
Then sorry, Brandon, you have to go away. Oh, you're terrible. You're terrible. All right, let's talk about the 3rd 5-round fight on here. The 5-round non-title fight, Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz. You know, anytime Nate Diaz is in a fight, people are going to get excited about it. As I said, he's rolling pretty deep over there. But this is a tough matchup for him, right? This is a difficult assignment. So what did you think? It was kind of the fight that came out of nowhere, right? Like, I mean, I think we all scratched our head a little bit and said, what kind of matchmaking is this? But at the same time, it has the potential to be an exciting fight. So what are you thinking about this fight?
I mean, you can't help but I think everyone's like saying Leon's going to kind of have his way with Nate. But I'd like to take a point and say Nate said, I couldn't fight the biggest fight, so I just fought the best guy I could fight. So I think at this stage of his career, when he could pick anybody, it's pretty admirable. It shows that he actually, still cares about sport, still wants to be seen as a high-level fighter. I am excited for his return. It does feel like it's not the biggest fight he has, right? I don't feel the sort of Nate's on the card yet, you know?
Right.
I'm excited to see it. The 5-round thing, I think it was a great choice by Nate because he's going to come on strong. I'm worried about those cuts, man. I don't know if he got the surgery he said he was going to do after the Masvidal fight. I'm curious why this fight was postponed by a couple of weeks. That seems to me if I was going to guess.
I was wondering if maybe because they marijuana test in Texas.
Oh, do you reckon?
I don't know. Well, just a total guess.
Well, I hope not because I've seen him on camera. But also, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to sound like a rat now. I'm pretty sure I saw a screenshot of some mushrooms on his... now, those are probably those are like healthy... they're vegan mushrooms to help cut the weight, you know?
I don't know if they test for that.
Oh, well, have at it.
But no, it does make you wonder, right? Because we never really got a lot of firm delays about what the delay was about. So I
spoke to Leon. He said he didn't know. He said he heard rumors of a cut, but I just think that's because it would be the assumption I made, as you know. Could be the cannabis thing. That'd be entertaining.
Who knows?
If he wins, he's going to definitely fail the post fight, and then it's a no contest anyway.
It doesn't matter. All right, so you said the one thing I think do find, because I will be honest, I do favor Leon Edwards in this fight as well, and I don't mean that as any disrespect to Nate Diaz. It's just a difficult matchup. Leon's one of the best in the world. You know, he's had some opportunities taken away from him. You know, he's hungry, man. You know, he needs to prove something. But the 5-round
he'll take your eye out if you get in his way, bro.
100%. Terrible. But the 5-round thing does intrigue me a little bit. Is that the one saving grace? Is, survive the storm basically and try to take it late, and then maybe you can do something there?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? Because I would say that Nate comes alive in those. Well, Nate is more alive than the other guy in those 4th and 5th rounds, but it could also just prolong the beating. I don't feel like Leon's going to gas after 3 rounds, so it could just start to get real ugly. It's a tough one. I think it's the right decision. If you were Diaz, this is what I'd want. I also wonder if Nate's very, very clever at presenting himself as a star above others. I wonder if he demanded this to be 5 rounds so it still felt like a main event. There could be some of that playing in there. I mean, I think Leon just believes he's going to run through Nate, and I think he will fight like that in the first couple of rounds. I think he'll go really aggressively. I'm sure he's got kind of blue balls after the Bilal fight. I'm sure he wants to get an actual victory.
Yep.
So I think Leon will fight very aggressively.
And then what happens if you haven't run through him in 2 rounds, and now all of a sudden you're starting to fade a little bit?
Well,
that Nate Diaz gas tank kicks in.
Well, it would just be like the most Leon Edwards thing in the world if he finally has this chance to beat a superstar, get name value, and then just ground out a decision over 5 rounds with the fans booing him mercilessly. That would be like the most Leon Edwards thing. So he doesn't get the rub at all.
I was going to ask. So that mean you kind of walked right into it there, but I was going to ask. Is this the fight that finally Leon gets the respect he deserves? Obviously, if it plays out like that, then probably not. But if it plays out like I think we're going to, Could this be the moment that people finally look at Leon and give him some respect?
The funny thing about Leon getting respect is, I believe the fact he was forced to wait for so long has almost got him the respect because it's become the story of how Leon doesn't get respect. So I actually think Leon has more respect now because he didn't fight for a year, because eventually people started making the narrative, oh, this guy's great and he can't fight. So I think he's got a reasonable level of respect. It's just name value. You know, Leon Edwards is, oh, he's good, but that's about it. You know, he needs that name value. And I don't know, man. I like Leon a lot, and I think Leon's a lot more interesting than a lot of people give him credit for. But there is just something about him where if anyone was going to like beat a superstar, if anyone was going to beat a Conor, a Nate, or a Masvidal and not get name value, I think it would be Leon. I don't know why.
It's terrible. I feel bad for him. The way his career's gone.
I do think he'll get a title shot, though. He'll get a title shot because I think Kamaru will want to fight him.
Yeah, he said he has respect for him, and he'd like to do it again, so I agree. So a potential big moment for Leon Edwards, but Nate Diaz is Nate Diaz for a reason. We'll see if he can play the role.
I think
of
Nate said in an interview, I'm going to lose, but then fight for the title anyway.
Let's see a couple comments here that Cold Coffee passed over. Drew Jen said, I see Nate getting finished in this one. Leon has always been technically sound, but now he's much more polished and refined. Meanwhile, Mike Watson said Nate's going to catch an elbow and it's over. Nate does not care. He's making major money. Good on him. He's like, well, I lost. Yeah. But I'm getting paid.
Well, when I spoke to Leon, I said, you know, it's a bit of a weird question, but when you fight Nate, does it kind of feel like you've got like an extra chance of winning because of the cuts? Like, he can get stopped by cuts, right? That doesn't happen to everyone, but Nate, it's a pretty good chance. And he was like, I'm gonna like get him on the ground and elbow the shit out of him. Sorry for swearing. Gonna elbow him until he bleeds. He's like, that's like definitely on my mind. Slice and dice was the term he used.
Yeah. I mean, I should say I like that. It's kind of mean, but you know, it's good. It's good.
So Bilal already found out the hard way he slices.
All right, let's talk about the rest of the card. You know, we said that it's a loaded lineup. Rob, I think this is directed at me. Ruby said Drew B. Okay, just saying, Drew B. His comment is he's definitely going to ask Izzy to take his shirt off during the interview.
He does.
I see you there, well, Drew. I see what you're doing there.
He doesn't do it on camera anymore. He does it before they get like, hey, buddy, please just pop that shirt off. Take the pants off, too.
Oh, man, I'm never going to live that down. That's amazing. All right, let's talk about. So we talked about the depth of this card, that there are some good fights on there. Give me one that you would say is the one to look out for, is the biggest one, is the best matchup possible out of the other cards, or the other fights on the card, whether it be prelims, whether it be main, wherever it is.
I'm looking down there. I think in terms of, it depends what you mean by biggest. In terms of relevance to that division and what it means, I think Lauren Murphy and Joanne Calderwood's probably the biggest for that division.
Potential title shot maybe hanging in the balance for either one of them.
Yeah, I mean, most likely, right? You know, what's Valentina going to do? You know, she's got no one else. So I think that one has the most like importance, but I think for terms of this will be a fun fight to watch people punch each other. For me, it's Eric Anders and Darren Stewart. The first one was good. Eric Anders basically won and then snatched the defeat out the jaws of victory. I think they're heavier now, so I think that's just going to be two guys swinging at each other and sort of picking up where they left off.
How about, we got a chance to talk to both those guys earlier, and Eric Anders, by the way, he's no bitterness whatsoever of what happened. He knows, he's like, I messed up, it was my fault. And
meanwhile, Figueiredo's like, he's crying and making it up.
Darren Stewart, meanwhile, saying, look, at 205, I'm a totally different guy, and that always remains to be seen. But boy, he sure did seem like a different guy today.
He said that he had a really tough weight cut last time, and he had a good poker face. If I remember correctly, wasn't that good a poker face. I thought on the media day before it, he was having a rough weight cut.
Give himself a little credit for his poker face. We all knew it wasn't going good.
He didn't look too hot on the scales either, if I recall. So I think he's going to benefit from it. He said himself, like, he's at middleweight because of his dimensions, his height, and his reach. So when he fights another middleweight, but at 205, he's the one who benefits from that because they're the same height and stuff. But he's the one who's just going to benefit from the less harsh weight cut. So I think he will look good.
It's intriguing, right? Because I kept thinking he was saying, like, this is my home for now. And then he'd go, but I'm not staying at light heavyweight forever. Yeah. But he's like, but these weight cuts are hard. And I really need to be at light heavyweight for a while. But I'm not staying.
I think he's just British and likes complaining, to be honest with you. It's what we do. So I think that's what most of that was. But I think he will. I don't see him matching up at some of the bigger guys at 205. So
yeah. By the way, Lauren Murphy, I think if she wins, you got to give her a
100%.
shot. I think with Joanne Calderwood, you don't necessarily have to, but she is right there. I mean, she already had one, right? She had the tough luck, and now she's back. And she's a fan favorite. And she said it. Joanne Calderwood said, we're lucky. Like Valentina, we have a champion that likes to stay busy and says she wants to fight all of us, so that helps me.
Whack it on London in September. She won her versus Valentina. I know it's not a pay-per-view,
That'd be nice.
It's the sort of fight you can put on London.
That'd be a good spot for it. A couple of other under-the-radar type fights. How about if you haven't seen the beef between Paul Craig and Jamal Hill? The beef is real. We saw an altercation here. I won't say an altercation. Might be a little too far.
Encounter.
But, an encounter. I think is the way I phrased it to Jamal was, you guys had a brief conversation earlier today, and he kind of laughed about that. But the bad blood there is real. Basically what happened was, if you're not up to speed on it, was Jamal Hill had to pull out of their matchup in March, and Paul Craig, it was due to COVID, and Paul Craig was like, he pulled out, and then Jamal didn't take kindly to that. He said, I guess that made it seems like it was an option for him. Like, you have COVID, you're not pulling out of anything. And he said he actually got it pretty bad. Like, I heard it pretty bad.
Yes, he did.
But man, when he was there, if you have time, go check out the interview with him today. He was fired. I'd say it's real.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because Paul Craig did not seem that fired up. He was in fact, I thought today, compared to how he's been in the past, Craig was really chilled. He just seemed like, this is a job. I'm here to work. It's my 9-to-5 job, and whatever. I'll just get through the day. Whereas that was not the case on the other side of the cage. Hill was really pissed off.
He was, and it's interesting because Craig says, I think that's going to work to his disadvantage because he's spending all of his energy worried about stuff, and he's going to be too fired up. He's going to burn through that. To which Jamal said, "You're an idiot. That's not me. I'm going to do it." So.
Their face-off is going to be tasty, man, because Paul Craig always comes out and really gets in their face and stuff. Dana's going to be doing his.
Yeah, I'm really excited because he always gets in people's faces, right? He'll come out with the blue paint on and everything. Yeah. Joseph Boza weighed in. He said a fight that is going under the radar is the women's flyweight fight, Murphy versus Calderwood. It's on the prelims, and a shot of Valentina has to be on the line. Jeremiah K said fight of the night is going to be Figgy Moreno. Yeah. Performance tonight is going to either Craig or Hill, and Dawadu and Evloev. There's a lot of, I hate to just start rattling off fights, but okay, Damian Maia and Bilal Muhammad. Damian is saying, look, he admitted this could very well be my last fight. He's like, I'd like to do this one and one more, but this could very well be my last fight. And Damian is an absolute legend of the sport. And I thought it was interesting to hear him say too, like, I set out because I fought on that first card back in March when the pandemic started, and there was no crowd. And he's like, and then I sat back and I watched a guy like Antonio Ruggiero Nogueira retire without fighting in front of a crowd. And he's like, I'm not doing that. So he waited this whole time so he could fight in front of a crowd again. So potentially could be his last fight.
Could be, but he also seemed open to fighting a bit more. I think Damian's going to be the sort of guy where he might not officially announce a retirement if he wins. He's not going to officially announce retirement, and he might just sort of wait until interesting matchups pop up for the next couple of years, Yeah. Him versus Cowboy. Could happen.
Yeah, I love it. Drew Dober versus Brad Riddell. That, to me, is my under-the-radar fight that I think is going to be absolute banger.
Drew Dober's a handsome man, is he not?
He's a very handsome young man.
Soft pudding.
Fantastic hair. And
oh, God. Chiseled.
Did I ask him to take his shirt off?
Please do.
That's what we need to do. Yes. Drew Dober and Brad Riddell. I think that's one that, it's understandable. When you got two title fights, when you got a Nate Diaz on the card, that people aren't talking about the fight as much, and it doesn't have implications. And I understand that Dober's coming off a loss, and that kind of slowed down his steam a little bit. But to me, that looks like an absolute banger of a fight on paper.
Yeah, for some reason in my head, I just feel like that's going to be high-paced for as long as it lasts. It's going to be like putting two things in a washing machine and just like spinning around and going crazy. That's a weird analogy.
That is a weird analogy there. And I'll point to Jeremiah's recommendation for the performance of the night. Mosar Evloev and Hakeem Dawadu, I think, it's both a meaningful fight in terms of two guys that have impressive records on paper that also I think have a lot of skills. And they actually kind of had can't really say they have a lot of rivalry. I mean, Mosar, to his credit, trying to speak English and doing a pretty good job at it. But Hakeem Dawadu, kind of, how funny was that moment when I believe it was Jose Youngs that asked me, he said, by the way, Mosar said he has better striking than you. And he was like, what? Huh? He kind of had to laugh. So that was a pretty funny moment for Hakeem.
I think Hakeem probably hates them with every fibre of his being by the time he gets in the cage, just judging by the face he makes. But I also think he's incredibly skilled. I think both of these guys have potential to be really good at MMA. So I'm actually looking forward to that one. I like Hakeem.
I'm telling you, man, you look up and down this card, and I think there's a lot of storylines. Even the early prelims have some good fights. So fingers crossed, we're going to be walking out of the arena on late Saturday night after a very entertaining night.
5 a.m. after
5 a.m. Yes, and get back home. It's fight week every week. It's always. All right, one big bold proclamation. Do you have any predictions of what the big storyline is going to be, or just something big that's going to happen at UFC 263?
Israel Adesanya is going to come out of this and everyone's going to call him the best fighter in the world again. I think he's going to look great.
I'm impressed by that. You know what? I've got a similar. I think Davison Figueiredo is going to win in impressive fashion and devastating fashion. I hate to say it because Brandon Moreno's a live underdog, but I think Davison's going to remind the world that he's the best flyweight in the world right now.
I'm looking forward to him. I think, sometimes you see these. I remember like UFC 200 as big name fights, and they can kind of be wishy-washy. I think there's going to be some. Before the Jacksonville card, I felt like with the fans back and stuff, there's going to be some crazy stuff happening, and I have that feeling about this one too. I just can imagine like a couple of moments where you jump out like, oh wow, that flyweight fight especially.
I'll tell you what the big one could be. How about Bilal Muhammad's prediction that he's going to stick around and
punch Leon,
have a 3-piece Minnesota ready to go?
Well, actually, I rewatched it. He said 2-piece.
He said 2-piece.
So he's going to like slap him and run. I guess I don't know, but. Yeah, he also put up a picture of him poking Leon in the eye on the poster and said, "I'm going to get you back." So
maybe Bilal Muhammad's the big story on Sunday.
I'd like to see them run into each other in the hotel. We've had Izzy Vittori, we've had Jamal and Craig. Let's have those two. Both wearing glasses, safety glasses.
Bilal is like the most subtle trash talker. You know what I mean? He just kind of slips things in here.
He's a funny guy.
Here, the MMA Junkie Radio boys joined in, wanted to join the chat there. So thanks, George and Goes, for doing it. And thank you for the time, man. I know it's a busy day. Wednesday's a busy day. We still got the press conference tomorrow, which I'm fired. I think
that's gonna be good.
I think the face-offs there could be what kind of stirs things up and gets the buzz that maybe isn't fully here yet.
Oh, I look forward to the moment that Adesanya and Vittori won't stop, so Dana has to go, next question, over the top of them, because that's almost definitely going to happen.
That's definitely going to happen. So, and then, of course, we'll have the weigh-ins on Friday, ceremonial weigh-ins in the afternoon with the crowd. So if you're in the Phoenix area, come check that out. You can actually go to the ceremonial weigh-ins again, which we haven't had, and then a big fight on Saturday.
Watch Dana White try and pull Paul and Jamal off each other.
There's going to be some good stare downs, believe me. All right, so watch all that. Get all your coverage at MMA Junkie. You can check out the Mac Life as well. I don't mind. I mean,
you should.
You did volunteer your time, so you can do that.
You should check that out.
Thanks. We'll keep
it live. It's really good.
It's all right.
It's okay.
We'll have fight week coverage all week long. Thanks for joining us today, guys.